So often we're concerned with how we make our dreams come true. How do we even get to do the things we want to do? We always think about those things instead of continually wondering about what allows us to keep that success going, to sustain it, the endurance it takes to make that happen on a regular basis. Reb Ford is actually quoted as saying that, how do you treat boredom with ambition? I think that's also how you treat sustainability and building endurance. Is you keep reaching for more. If you rest on your laurels and you feel that you've already made it and there's nowhere else to grow, then what makes you keep fighting? What keeps you training to be better and to keep moving forward? Beyond that, it's realizing that while you, as a creative, may feel like you're a pioneer out in this undetermined, unkempt jungle of creativity, that because you're the one paving your own path, you can take the time to brick by brick lay it as it needs to be laid, but do it in a way that allows you the perspective to plan for where that thing leads. So in doing that, it comes back all to those incremental pieces. Everything is small if you don't let it build up into this monster in your mind. These successes and these things that you've already built upon, you can continue to replicate them. The failures and the successes, by keeping them small, you can actually analyze and try to replicate what has worked, while truly being able to, with agility, note what hasn't worked and make the effective changes so that you can keep moving forward. But endurance is so important to that sustainability. So with this, when you do these things, you've built the trust, you've had the success, you have engagement and communication with an audience. How do you not have that slip from your fingers? If you let them get too loose, things will fall through. But if you grip too tightly, you'll crush the thing you built. So it's practice. There's no such thing as being perfect, but there are perfect practices. There are ways to control and do things step by step, maintaining a level of vision and a love and a passion for this thing that starts to look very different than the thing you originally built. But in the 6 years since Warframe has launched, what can it become in 4 to 10 years if it continues? How do you continue to allow your interactions, both as a team and with your audience, lead you to grow? And it's that passion and ambition for the unknown, while still trying to do these things that allow you to have some level of control, drive you towards making sure that you don't get stagnant. For me, that is one of the biggest paramount keys to actually maintaining relevance, is never resting. Each time you achieve something, knowing that you should take the time, take a look around, take stock with your team and appreciate what you've accomplished, knowing that in that next moment, you need to get going to the next thing. This is a legendary quest. And in a legendary quest, it is comprised of dozens, if not hundreds, of menial tasks that lead to this bigger thing. And it's treating each one of those things both as big as a legendary quest and like it's as menial as it is. Meaning that, yes, you should always give your best, even if it is a menial task. But at the same time, should you succeed or fail, you should never get too high or too low, because each of those small pieces are meant to lead to a greater whole. Those are the things that keep you from getting beat up, from making decisions that aren't true to the process. And the process is the key to sustainability. It's developing systems and ways and to both keep pure as a creative, but at the same time making sure that you never get too far out of this pathway that you're looking towards. So often we think of things as linear. What is the straightest path to success? And it's never a straight line. And often most things that we do, we're taking steps backwards, steps to the side, up, down, left, right, all over the place. And that's just in our heads, let alone when we actually find that our plans and ideas meet the test that they will. And when that happens, the amount of chaos and things that can get intense and crazy and become almost a knot of creativity that can never be untied. But that's okay, because you can keep weaving a strand after each one of those knots, as long as you do the things to keep yourself healthy. And some of those are, how do you treat those who work around you? If you're in a small team or a large team, these things both ring true. It's taking those moments to appreciate success. It's going forward and making sure that you don't rest on any of those successes despite taking that appreciation. To remember what's important. What was the end goal? Digital Extreme showed this when Dark Sector wasn't enough. That was somewhat a representation of the core idea, yet it never really was enough for them. And even then, it only goes to suit that they made a game that doesn't have a real written end. It allows them to keep building upon that dream. But if you don't have that, if you actually have a punctuation at the end, what is the next line of succession to those dreams and ideas? And knowing that you always have that proverbial carrot in front of you, driving you forward, making sure that you actually have a reason to get up every morning to keep putting the work in, because there is a value in that. And once you stop doing the work, it's hard to start again. Now, should you have been the one of those that stopped, please, by all means, get up, dust yourself off, and go. But if you can choose never to stop, then don't. Always move forward. So like anything, we talk about how trust is contagious, how things tend to breed and almost virally feed on each other, and momentum is the same way. So when you're trying to be creative, you feel like you're hitting wall after wall after wall. Yet once you break through, it's all that resistance is gone, and it's so easy to turn around, look around, and feel like you're just floating because there's nothing keeping you from going forward. But the important thing is to capitalize on that momentum. Keep running downhill when it's easy, so that when you hit that next uphill, you have all the momentum in the world to keep breaking through. Each time you do that, that hill gets easier and easier to climb. Before you know it, those hills are mountains that you're leaping over. So with Digital Extremes and Warframe, Digital Extremes specifically, you saw a company hitting door after door telling them that this game wasn't something that needed to be made, that nobody wanted to play a sci-fi game, wouldn't give them the investment. Those walls had to be broken through. Things were slow moving as they did what it took to get closer to that mountain, to make the licensed games, to do the ports, to do the work for hire over and over again so they could keep the lights on. But when they took that leap, when they finally got to the base of that mountain and incrementally built a path over the top of it, ever since, they've been able to put out content piece after content piece, driven by that carrot. Reb Ford points out how each time they put out a piece of content, that it leads to a greater investment from the player, and that includes both their time and their money. Now, that is, if anything, the greatest of carrots. It means you don't just have one great big piece. You can keep putting out content, keep being driven by knowing that to be able to keep these people engaged and to keep this relationship developed and growing, that it requires that growth. And that's what this momentum is going to become, an avalanche of content. I would feel like for a free-to-play game, there is nobody else who can keep up with that level of delivery regularly, between new Warframe actual frames, the developments of new worlds and testing of paradigms that didn't exist previously, that make it more and more close to the vision that they had at the outset, and taking it further than they ever could have imagined. And that momentum is built off of trust, and a lot of hands are helping push this massive boulder over each subsequent mountain. And each one of those hands is filled by people developing the game, those who play and support the game, to the point now that if any one person stumbles and falls, that there's someone to lift them up while never missing the ability to keep pushing that boulder over each respective hill, each mountain, bursting through each objective. And that is the core of what it takes to keep being sustainable and to develop the endurance, is not only to be able to drive your own passion as an individual, but to get those to rally with you, to keep driving you forward, to keep spurring you ambitiously. It's because your ambition is not your own anymore at this point. It becomes that to those who engage in your product and those who helped you get there.